Okay, what?
I said we can cut out anything.
All right. Oh, I get to see me right there. Love that. Oh, actually, maybe I should look at my hair while I'm there. All right, it's not too bad. I can.
Okay.
Yeah. That one's actually better in the lighting
I suppose something like
because
that.
you're kind of
Can't see the slides on that one.
Hold on, it looks like this.
Who? Me or you?
No, I do.
Oh, with Facebook Live? Are you watching
Yeah,
Facebook Live? That's why I said, can you see your hands? Because I'm always like trying to hold them really super tight.
There we go.
Yeah, that's what I was doing.
There we go. Okay.
Okay. Are we doing it now? All right, we're live. My name is Jennifer Goldman, and I started a company 4.5 years ago called Resonance, which I realized as part of my story needed a little more marketing research before naming it, but it is resonance, means to resonate. And so I wanted to talk about my journey today, which is weird for me because I'm usually teaching workshops and seminars. I'm not usually talking about me. So, you know, if I fall over, just don't worry, I'll get there. But I call the presentation E to E, Entrepreneur to Entrepreneur, because I wanted to talk to women who want to be entrepreneurs. It's part of what my company does. I do some entrepreneurship training. I run 2 business centers for Fauquier County. And so I wanted to talk to women who would like to be entrepreneurs, just to say what the journey's like or what mine was like, and maybe it will inspire something. The secrets to success, balance, and caffeine. Those are my secrets. I don't know that I can say I'm really successful yet, but I believe in having balance in my life, and I believe in having gobs and gobs and gallons of caffeine. As you can see, very happy with the Starbucks in my hand. And very happy also at the lake. This was my vacation earlier this year. I went to upstate New York and I found this pile, I don't know if you can see it, they're tiny, this pile of stones that became my meditation place. That was my balance. I don't know how it helps balance caffeine, but both make me happy. But I've thought a lot about what makes an entrepreneur, especially as you try to train entrepreneurs. And there's the age-old question of, can you make an entrepreneur? Can you train an entrepreneur? Can you teach entrepreneurship, or is it something you're born with? And I will tell you, I think it's both. I think there are some traits that maybe you need to be born with. And I think some of it can also be taught and encouraged. And so I'll tell you a little bit about my background. I'm going to go with, clearly I had some of those traits at a very early age. You can see, well, I also got a lot of it from my mother. As you see, I was trying to be the same with the sunglasses. I know it's an old picture, but I thought, you know, this is probably the last time I was cute. But things that are inherent to entrepreneurs, they're passionate, they're creative, they're risk takers, they have a strong sense of themselves, they're motivated, optimistic, open-minded, confident, competitive, and good networkers, to name a few out of probably a million traits. But when I look at those things, I'll say, you know, I'm some of them. I was raised in a conservative Jewish family, so risk-taking was really not in my blood. You know, I was raised, you don't leave a job until you have a job lined up, you're very fiscally responsible, all of those great things. I have to say I probably have some creativity in me, but I was taught more to be academic, I guess, than creative. Passionate, yeah, strong sense of self, I would say stronger since 40. But, you know, we do have a lot of these, and I think every person who wants to start a business can probably go through that list and say they have some of it. So start with what you know. You know, these are things that successful entrepreneurs have, and you won't have all of them. I don't think anybody has all of them, but some of that is in you, and you need to embrace it. And so my background, in addition to, you know, obviously the wild child sunglasses look, my professional career, after being a stay-at-home mom and doing a writing career for several years, I became executive director of a nonprofit. And I absolutely love the job. It was a different challenge every day, and I really enjoyed it. But at the end of that, I was there for 5 years. We had a dysfunctional board. It was not so much fun doing 17 people's jobs when I could have just been doing my own. So I started becoming a little disenchanted with my job, and I started taking more and more any kind of free seminars, courses, anything that I could find that would improve myself personally or professionally. And so I wound up learning more about myself along that line. I became a certified nonprofit manager, I became a certified tourism ambassador, and I also took a personal branding webinar actually, that I fell in love with, and I learned so much from that. And that's really, I think, what started my journey into starting my own company. And so this is just the next step, is figuring out who you are. Who am I? You know, what am I going to do? What do I want to do? And one of the things that I learned in this branding exercise, and I wish I could remember the woman's name who taught it because she was brilliant, and she said, write down the 3 things that you are the best at in the world, that you are the most amazing at. Nobody could compete with you, and you do them so well, and you enjoy them so much that it would just be silly for someone to pay you because you would do it for free, and you would do it every day if you could. And so I encourage you to do that and think about it. And you know, I had to say, I was at a loss. I didn't really know what to put, and I realized I love getting out and meeting new people. You know, these were not professional things I was thinking of. It's just my 3 things. Getting out and meeting new people. I love also being able to tell people when they have issues and challenges, you know, who I know that might be able to help them, who they should introduce themselves to, what company or organization might be able to help them, or funding. I like being able to be that resource for people, knowing the things that they want them, being able to answer their questions. And my 3rd thing was, I used to run a black tie gala. And I love running that thing, and I love getting all dressed up. You know, I'm surprised I'm not in a gown right now. But I was like, you know, I want to spend my time going to fundraisers and galas and black tie events, and I don't care if I have to plan them myself minute by minute. That's how I want to spend my time. And so I'm thinking to myself, what kind of job is that? That is really silly. Who would pay me to do that? Who would pay me to go meet new people, be able to answer questions ad nauseum for whoever has a challenge, and, you know, get dressed in a gown and be at fancy events? And so I thought about it for a while, and I thought, well, maybe no one will pay me to do that, but it sounds like a lot of fun, and I decided I would call myself a community relations specialist. That's what those 3 things said to me. And I have to say, once I put a title to it, and I completely made up that title, not knowing that it was really a thing. And then I started Googling it, and lo and behold, community relations specialist is an actual job. And so I decided I would leave my job at the nonprofit that I was working for. I wasn't sold on starting a new company yet, but I had a lot of confidence about my brand. And that was the whole point of that branding exercise that I did, was to find out what you bring to the table. It isn't a list of job duties and descriptions that you do for your company. It is who you are, what you bring to the table, and it goes with you wherever you go. It is what you add. And so I realized that those were my specialties. Those are the things that I love, that I'm really great at. And so I was leaning toward that. I was considering starting a company, and I realized I was never going to figure out what I wanted to be when I grew up if I was just mired down in the negativity of the job that I was in, that I was disenchanted with. So I did the thing that my father would never tell me to do, and I quit my job without having something else lined up. And for me, that was really, really scary. Like I told you, I grew up in a very conservative Jewish family. We are not risk takers, and I gotta tell you, at that point, I also had 2 kids in high school. I was 1 year and 2 years away from possible college tuitions for my kids, and giving up that steady paycheck was not easy. So I stayed at home, put out resumes, got job interviews, and talked myself out of every single opportunity that came my way. And finally, I realized I had been home for a grand total of 30 days and 486 cups of coffee, and it was time to go do my thing. So I realized the irony, which was also a gift, was that it was April 1st, 2015, and it was going to be either the best thing I'd ever done or the most foolish thing I'd ever done. I started my company. And so one day after I started my company, and this is not a bad story, it looks bad from here. I went from coffee to wine. But on day 1, I got a call from a winery owner, and he said, "How do you feel about managing my winery?" And I said, "You're too late. Thank you, I appreciate it, but I just started my company literally yesterday. I went on the Virginia, SCC, State Corporate Commission website, and I formed my entity. I have a company now." And he said, "Great, congratulations. How does your company feel about running a winery?" which stopped me right in my tracks. And I thought, well, now we have a conversation. So day one, I had a client. So there was a little less coffee drinking after that and a little more wine drinking after that. But it was fun because who wouldn't love working with wine? But that was how I knew at least I was on the right track. I didn't know exactly what my company was going to become, but day one I had a customer and I had an amazing job. My job was to run the winery and turn a winery that had been losing money for 6 years in a row and turn it around so that it could earn a profit. And I promised the owner I would give him a year, and in, I believe it was 3 months, the accountant came to me and said it had stopped bleeding, and in 9 months it was actually starting to make a profit. The year after I was there, the investors got the first disbursement they've ever had since the winery had opened. So it was a great project. I was great at it. Did not get to dress in any gowns, but I did have a good time. I met a lot of new people and I became a resource for them. And I have many more clients after that. It was fantastic. I did realize when you name your company, you have to be really careful and thoughtful. When I called my company Resonance, it was because I was working on tuition. I wanted things that resonated, and I tried to also come up with, so if I'm going to call it, resonance, what kind of imagery could you come up with, talking about intuition and talking about things operating at a higher vibration and trying to come up with images that would represent my company well. And let me just say, do not Google things that vibrate so that you can come up with something for your logo. And if you do, shut the children out of the room. But I also learned that not many people know what resonance means or how it's spelled, and when they look at it, they say Renaissance. So just naming is as careful for your company as it is for your children. That is my key there. So my company was doing really well. The first year, I have to say, I was making more money than I'd ever made in my life. But I realized after 1 year, I worked 24/7. I had spent the whole first year working Monday through Thursday, helping my clients, and I spent Friday, Saturday, Sunday at the winery, turning it around. I had no balance. I had more money than I'd ever had, but I had no life. I didn't have time for my friends. I barely had time for my kids. I had no time for myself. And I thought, you know what? I did not start a business so that I could run myself into the ground. I started a business so that I would be more comfortable financially, but that I'd be happier too. And so my work-life balance, so you can see here, this is what happens when you're not that balanced. I love these pictures. I had headshots done, and there were about 50 of those pictures, and I'm going to go with every 7th picture that a photographer took. My eyes are closed. I look like I'm sneezing or something. I don't know, this was a speech I gave at Lord Fairfax Community College last year. I'm not sure why, but as soon as I got the video and I put it up on YouTube, that became the still that went with it. And then this is me very gracefully helping my girlfriend move a few years ago, and it was slippery out there, so, of course, I'm the one with mud all over my pants. Not so balanced over here. These are more recent pictures. You can see this is a much more successful speaking engagement here. I'm dressed, I don't look ridiculous. I'm not sneezing on anyone. The picture that you saw at the beginning, me meditating, those are me and my very handsome boys at the top. And I'm sure it's really, really small to you, but myself and 2 of my gorgeous girlfriends there. This is the life I wanted when I started my company. This is, I'm still good here, it's just they're silly pictures. But when I look at those pictures, they make me really happy. And none of them were from before I started my company. And to me, when I look at that, I see some of my accomplishment and how much my life has grown and how much happier it is now. And it is the right balance now. That first year was incredibly busy. But you keep evolving. After a couple of years, I also realized that I didn't have quite, it wasn't that I had the wrong services, but I hadn't narrowed them down. I was trying to do too much. And a lot of business people start that way. You want to do whatever anyone wants you to do that they're going to pay you to do because you're on your own. And little by little, you whittle it down and you realize what your specialty is, what it is you really do enjoy, what your value is, and how you can do that. And you get better, it evolves. See, now I gotta look at my notes here. I am so bad at slideshows that I'm like, I think that's actually the last slide, even though I have more to say. I had a whole nother thing I was going to tell you all about the enterprise centers, but I will tell you, as I said before, one of my clients is Fauquier County. So I do run 2 business centers for them. So I do help people who are becoming entrepreneurs who want to start new businesses. So the rest of the slides are actually there because we have the next ones. But wait, there's more. But I'll tell you more about me. 4 years in now. This is actually my 5th year in business. I've been in business for 4.5 years. I am more and more in love with my company every day. Right now, I am running pilot programs in a few different counties, high schools for young entrepreneurs. We are trying to teach high school kids that there is a different avenue that they can take for business success that isn't just about college, or that they can enhance what they're going to do in college with learning how to start a company. We also want them to come back to Fauquier County and do that here. Well, actually, I guess we're not in Fauquier County right now, but no one else heard that.
But in the video, we're
in the video, we can be wherever we want. But yeah, I do work with Fauquier County. I run those 2 business centers. I am putting pilot programs together for our high school students. I work with the town of Leesburg. I'm a member of the National Main Street Center. And so right now, all of the things that I'm doing and all the clients that I have are exactly what I want to do and what I'm great at. I still haven't found a way to break myself into all the fancy galas, but I'm thinking that my work with nonprofits, maybe I'll be running more of them soon. But those are the dreams yet to be realized. Only 4 years in, I'm going to go with maybe after 5. That's my goal, more fancy galas. I have the other things I wanted. But it's a fascinating journey, and I think everybody's journey is different. And don't be afraid. I know Rachel said it earlier. Don't be, or maybe, actually Christina said it. Don't be afraid to take that first step. And I think we have a very similar message. Take the first step. Don't be afraid. Get to know yourself better. And don't be afraid if your company doesn't do what you thought it would in the first year. I'm 4 years in, and I'm seeing it tighten and narrow and become more specific as I go along. And that's okay. It's just becoming more and more enjoyable as I get better at it, and I know my value more. And you will too. So I hope you'll watch this on the website, YouTube channel, resonance.us. I'm going to challenge you to learn how to spell resonance. I'm not going to do it for you, but I hope I'll see you there. Thanks.
And you guys feel free to take pictures, use any of the
Yeah, what do you
equipment,
want?
or
How can we
do whatever. So, like,